Assassin's Creed Shadows has become one of the most polarizing games in recent memory. On one hand, Ubisoft proudly announced the game was a hit, tweeting that it got 2 million players just days after launch. On the other hand, nearly every player that I've seen seems to be reacting with intense negativity, from mass disliking trailers on YouTube to accusing positive reviewers of being shills. So I wanted to actually untangle some of these contradictions and confusions around Shadows' reception, exploring how a game could be both record-breaking success from one person's ideology and a lightning rod for backlash at the same time. In late March 2025, Ubisoft celebrated a major milestone. Assassin's Creed Shadows has surpassed 2 million players within its first 2 days on the market. The company touted that Shadows' launch even outperformed those of Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, both popular entries that marked the series' shift in the RPG-style worlds. An official social media post proclaimed, Assassin's Creed Shadows has now surpassed the launches of AC Origins and Odyssey. Thank you for joining the journey into feudal Japan. At face value, this seems like an unequivocal success, possibly the second biggest AC launch ever, only behind the pandemic-fueled Valhalla. However, Ubisoft's wording raised a few eyebrows, and a lot of people were wondering where that came from. I mean, for example, Shadows did not exactly have a great run-up to its launch. Some of the most controversy that has mired Ubisoft for ages has come home to roost within their latest title. The company on their announcement also used the word players, not copies sold. In fact, as of that announcement, no sales figures have actually been released yet, and still, Ubisoft's stock price continues to plummet. This led many to suspect that the impressive 2 million figure was inflated by Ubisoft Plus subscribers. If anyone is unaware, that's basically their Game Pass. You pay a monthly subscription and you get all of their games, which means that nobody is actually having to properly purchase AC Shadows. Essentially, anyone that launched the game via subscription or promotion counted as a player, even if they hadn't actually shelled out $70 for the game outright. On Reddit's r/game forum, one user explained that the 2 million players is likely a mismatch combination of Ubisoft's Plus subs, PlayStation purchases, and straight-up PC purchases as well, rather than pure sales, a context that's actually very much missing within the Ubisoft rhetoric. Even gaming outlets caution readers not to equate players with units sold. Ironically, a much-hated game website like IGN even noted so far Ubisoft has actually yet to announce a sales figure, and I'm going to be honest, I don't think they will anytime soon. This skepticism is kind of expected though. Ubisoft made Shadows available on day one via Ubisoft Plus and on Steam as well. This is also lowering the barrier to entry. Most of the other Ubisoft games just have not been put on Steam, or at least at launch, and who would have thought it? Hosting your game on the biggest gaming platform in the world is going to raise the players anyway. It's very possible that tens or hundreds of thousands of those 2 million players were simply just Ubisoft Plus subscribers, checking the game out without having to make any additional purchases, which is, as far as I'm concerned, not an endorsement of the game. People have also theorized that Ubisoft's pricey additions and marketing were designed to nudge people towards Ubisoft Plus instead of buying the game piecemeal. I mean, it's priced that way to funnel people over to their streaming platform where most of their long-term revenue will be coming from. And look, we'll dig into the full editions in a second, but the fact that the Ultimate Edition of Shadows is $130, but you could just subscribe for $18 a month to get all the content kind of supports that theory. Ubisoft's own subscriptions director even admitted that they're trying to shift consumers' mindsets to get comfortable with not owning their games, which, as you can imagine, isn't exactly the most favorable of comments to make about your audience. So whilst 2 million players in 2 days is certainly a brag-worthy stat for some, there's a lot of nuance behind it. The milestones undeniably indicate strong interest in Shadows, obviously helped by years of fan anticipation and, well, the Japanese setting, but I'm gonna be honest, I think a lot of it was just out of curiosity. The stream controversy around the 2 protagonists within AC Shadows means that a lot of people are just hopping in to see what all the fuss was about rather than actually endorsing the game as something quality. So this doesn't necessarily mean 2 million people bought the game at $70 a pop. On the other hand, Ubisoft as well do seem fairly aware of this distinction. Their internal memos reportedly urged staff to compare Shadows' launch to Odyssey and Origins, which also had no subscriptions within the mix, rather than 2020's Valhalla. Why would they? Well, Valhalla, despite its mixed reception and, well, negative reviews as the player base marketplace was actually the best-selling Ubisoft game by a long, long way. So Ubisoft are just not going to compare Shadows to that one. Rather, there were other two titles that came before that were less impressively sold. The bottom line is Shadow's early player count was impressive as a surface number, but the lack of transparency on sales left room for confusion. As we'll see, that confusion only fueled the community divide, some hailing Shadows as a hit, others calling Ubisoft out for modern era marketing BS. One of the main reasons that I wanted to make this video was to actually have a look at where the main consensus lies, because if you go into Steam's store and you click on the Assassin's Creed Shadows Steam page, you can see it sitting up very positive, and a lot of the reviews seem to be saying a rhetoric that this is a return to form and a game that is worth mentioning and even playing. Yet any of interactions online of AC Shadows is a complete disaster. I have not seen a single positive comment towards Ubisoft as a company, and really AC Shadows just not being a title that is worth even $70 of your money. I think a lot of this is down to the fact that they needed something absolutely huge, and what they bought is mediocre at best. And this leads us on to the most perplexing aspect of Shadow's reception, the disparity. Where the fuck can I hear a child? A child somewhere. Could hear him again.
You like that? Huh? You like that? You just tune this out, don't you? Well, tune this out.
As mentioned, on Steam, Shadows has enjoyed mostly positive reviews overall, and in fact, an okay player count. In fact, at launch, roughly 81% of Steam user reviews were positive, or at least giving it that very positive rating. PC Gamer also noted that they've received mostly positive reviews, and of course, many fans are starting to speak up about it. I mean, look, it is feudal Japan, it is gorgeous, the look of this game, and it is a pretty rich open world. What they've done with the world is pretty goddamn good. There is some of that classic Assassin's Creed gameplay, the UI is pretty clean, and it's overall fairly high quality. However, this has led to the overall tone on Steam and some of its reviews being more upbeat. The best Assassin's Creed in years. I'm loving it so far, a lot of people are saying in the reviews. One Redditor neatly summarized, the game is a great AC game, but will not redefine the series. Well, I think this is where the leaks start to come through. On YouTube, you can now enter the dark side of the internet. The pre-release and immediate post-release Discord on the platform was overwhelmingly negative, even downright toxic in some ways. The official trailers for Assassin's Creed Shadows were bombarded with dislikes and cynical comments. The reveal trailer in May of 2024 made franchise history for the wrong reasons. It amassed over 595,000 dislikes as opposed to 260,000 likes. This was on the Ubisoft official channels. With 7.1 million views, the like-to-dislike ratio was roughly 2-to-1, making it the most disliked trailer in Assassin's Creed history. For comparison, 2022's Assassin's Creed Mirage, which had, well, just as many people saying it was going to be terrible, only had under 10,000 dislikes total. And even the infamously buggy Assassin's Creed Unity trailer wasn't ratioed this hard. The YouTube comment sections were and still are flooded with scorn and mockery. Many commenters latching onto the narrative that Ubisoft is lying or the game is dead on arrival, even as they started to gain players. New official videos like updates and accolade trailers will get dislike bombs by a brigade of people determined to send a message. And why? Well, the entire discourse around the main characters. Should it be historically accurate or should it be based on fun? I think the reality is most people actually just want a decent game, and Assassin's Creed Shadows is just average. It is not enough to save the Assassin's Creed titles, and it is not enough to save Ubisoft in general. A lot of the positive voices were drowned out. Rightly or wrongly, it seems that the actual incentive is the overwhelming loud majority of players talking down Shadows. In summary, it's kind of meant that it's lived a double life. I personally have just got bored with the game. It is so bang average that I can't be passionate defending it, but I also completely agree with the way that Ubisoft has gone down into this slowy pit of hell. It is a company that almost deserves its downfall because of these disasters time and time again. They've lived this double life of having a franchise that they want to bring into the mainstream whilst alienating their entire audience along the way. Once a fun game series that millions of players were happy to dive into, now just a punching bag and a way to spread the message. At the heart of the Shadows reception is an internet bandwagon in one way or another, whether it's reviewers trying to please a bleeding company or commentators that will never hear anything positive about a game that has the wrong race in it. All of these controversies and culture war crossfire have just set the stage for an absolute mess.